What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Cuesta, and with me today, filling in because she's friggin' amazing, is someone that you've heard me talk about plenty of times on the podcast. I always give her props because I'm a pain in the ass with doing this, and she gives me the opportunity to do it. It's my lovely, beautiful, amazing wife, Julie. What's up, Jewel?
Hi, everyone.
So Julie isn't very social media savvy, especially when it comes to our sports topics and stuff. So if anyone wants to reach her, you could probably just go through me. DM, yeah, message me. Twitter at @A_Cuesta30, Sports Opinion 30 on Twitter, Instagram, Sports Opinions 30, and @Cuesta30 as well on Instagram. So that's the best way to get to her. So this one's going to be fun because my wife, admittedly, is not really a sports buff. Are you, dear?
I don't know anything about sports, really.
Yeah, no, you're not really. But you do. You like your Cowboys. You watch your Cowboys games every once in a while.
I do try.
We try to go to a few Mets games a year. I stomach that nonsense because the rest of your family is a bunch of Mets fans. Yeah, for some reason. She let herself get brainwashed. But we're working on that. I'm a Yankees fan, so we're working on getting her to the dark side. But so what's going to happen here? Normally, I'm going to run it down. Normally, I like to go through a bunch of scripted stuff, let people kind of scripted. I let people know what we're going to talk about, and it's pretty good that way. But my wife, she told me flat out, she's like, I don't know much about sports, so if you gave me a script and told me, I wouldn't know what the hell to say anyway. And I've been wanting to get her on the show because she has some of the best off-the-cuff stuff. Like, let's get one real quick in, for instance. What was your opinion about Tony Romo when he was around with the Cowboys?
I just feel like Tony Romo, he's just not good in the fourth quarter. I feel like he can't close the games. And I like him as a quarterback, but he kind of sucked at the end.
So my wife was innovative, and people love analytics now. But no, she wanted to have a closer in football, which was a pretty damn...
I think we need a closer quarterback. I mean, now he's gone now, but I feel like he needed someone to just play the fourth quarter for him.
And it's funny because I'm going to bring my dad in for a second because my dad, you know Dad, he used to say all the time about Vinny Testaverde. Testaverde was great for 3 quarters and he sucked in the fourth. So you have something included with your father-in-law. How does that make you feel?
No, at least he understands me.
It's good. He listens to this. That was good. So you might stay in his good graces.
Yes.
So there's a few topics I'm going to throw at her, and we'll see what she has to say about them, and we'll run with it because this is going to be fun, and we might argue later, which is even better. But so first topic I want to throw at you is there was a study done with NFL defensive players about a bevy of topics, but one of the main things that came out that made news in the sports world was whether Colin Kaepernick should be playing in the NFL as we speak right now. 95, I think it was 95 or 96 of defensive players said he should be playing in the NFL right now. I'll throw out my quick opinion on that, and then I'll let you jump in. With Cap, I think that right now he'd be super rusty, and that after 2 years, especially not playing quarterback, that even though he's super athletic, he doesn't know the speed of the game anymore, any of that type of stuff. So I think if he got his chance in the league, it wouldn't do well. How do you feel? What should Cap be playing right now?
I mean, I feel like he should be on these teams now, whether or not he's good or anything at this point. But, I mean, he could at least be on the practice squad and just learning how to get back into that rhythm again because he was a good player at the time. He was.
He beat your Cowboys a few times when he was on the Niners. But
I don't want to talk about that.
Now, in terms of, do you think that he's been out of the league because the owners have colluded to keep him out at this point?
I feel like a little bit, yes, because I feel like his opinions on everything that's happening socially is something that has affected him in terms of playing, which I don't think is fair because he's there to play a sport. He's not there for his opinion, but he kind of mixed both too, so it's kind of half his fault and half like the owner's fault where they shouldn't be holding that against him.
Yeah, my whole thing is I think I've talked to you about this personally, that the kneeling thing, I don't think it was as big of a factor as people make it out to be because there's certain guys like Malcolm Jenkins.
He's not the only person that kneeled, so they just used him as the scapegoat with it, and I don't think that was very fair.
But there's also players like Malcolm Jenkins who never really stood. Marshawn Lynch rode the exercise bike literally since they started doing the anthem in 2013 or 2009. It was one of those. So it's like he's the one that got the attention. I think what blackballed him was his opinions on Fidel Castro being a great leader when he's a murderous dictator, wearing the pig socks. I think those are the things where if you're an owner and you're looking at it, unless he's Manning Brady, that type of greatness, it's not worth the business you might lose. I think this was a business decision in the NFL owners.
I mean, if you put it that way, I don't disagree with that. I mean, these players, when they're as popular as they are, and Kaepernick was very popular at the time he was on the team, they have to understand that they are also a brand. So I do agree with that.
Yeah, and it's a brand, and it's also the way I like to put it, because a lot of people are passionate about this, and that's kind of our society right now, as everyone gets super emotional and passionate, but it's like in our workplaces. When we walk into our workplaces, we can't just go saying and doing and dressing any way we want. There's a dress code. There's certain things you can and can't say. And outside of the NFL, when he's not working, when he's not at practice, when he's not in games, he should have those opinions. That's okay. It's like, but inside of the stadium, inside of the locker room, you're working. You're at work.
I don't always agree with that, because the problem is with celebrities, and I assume that you would include athletes into celebrities, they have to keep a certain persona outside of the game also, because they're very popular among people and their role models and stuff. So I don't really agree that just because he's within the stadium that he should have to follow those. He's going to have to hold himself to a certain standard, being that popular and being seen outside of it, because it's the same way with any other celebrity, whether you're a musician or an actress or an athlete, you still have to carry that.
That's true. I think LeBron James is a good example that he's super outspoken. But I do have to say, LeBron James carries himself a different way from in-game interviews to when he's outside. He has his own, I forget the name of it, but he has his own, basically a show where he gives athletes the opportunity to be more than athletes, not just talk about sports, but talk about politics, talk about culture, a lot of things like that. And that's okay.
For everything.
Yeah. So I feel like if Kaepernick went about this, I understand what he was trying to do. He's using the biggest stage on the planet to try and get his message out. I just think that I don't disagree with his message with police brutality and things like that. I don't think it's necessarily the wrong message. But my thing is, I just feel like it was kind of not appropriate for the workplace at that time, even though I agree with what he was saying.
Right. And they have to understand the workplace is outside of just the stadium. Their workplace never turns off. Like, they can't leave it. That's what their job is. That's what's included.
Now, to be fair to Colin Kaepernick, I don't know what he's done outside in terms of activism or anything like that. I haven't seen that plastered, even though if he is doing a lot of activist work, that should be something that not only he should be promoting, but people that follow him should be promoting, because it would definitely help his cause. One of the things that might have hurt his cause a little was he didn't vote, but that's neither here nor there. He might have hated both candidates, and that's okay too. That's his right. But for me, I would just hope that after causing all that and putting his career at jeopardy like he has, he's at least out there trying to do a lot of activist stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he hasn't really promoted, or I actually haven't seen any, whether he did or didn't, but I agree.
All right. Next topic we are going to jump on. Jewel, she sounds like a sports aficionado. Look at her.
I do not.
But next topic we're going to jump into is another touchy subject. I was a collegiate athlete, but not only did I suck, I raced in a sport and did a sport in track, which doesn't make much money. But athletes getting paid has been a thing that's come up so much now. It's a lot, and there's a lot of differing opinions, and it's either pay them, don't pay them, period. Question for you, should Division I, big time football, basketball athletes get paid?
I mean, they are getting paid in terms of scholarships, so I'm not sure how much more you should get paid outside of that. I understand where they have a certain likeness and you want to market that and sell that, but they're getting paid to go to school. So I feel like they are getting enough out of it, and if they are that good, they're going to get paid when they get to these professional leagues.
Yeah, and we've heard that. A lot of people's answer to you is, though, the NCAA, these colleges are raking in millions upon millions, and these kids are getting...
They are raking in a lot of money, but it's also allowing for all these other athletes to come in, and they're getting their school paid for. So, I mean, yeah, they're making the money, but they're also allowing for more players to come.
The way I look at it is, are these kids getting compensated properly for what they do, especially like kids at Michigan and stuff like that?
They choose to do that.
Their names, they do choose, but my thing is that the NCAA is corrupt. It has been corrupt. It always will be corrupt. You can't trust them to pay them properly if they are going to do it. I think asking the schools to dole out money would be outrageous, because you're asking a bunch of kids who don't play sports to now pay for these dudes who are maybe going to be there for 2 years. My solution personally, and also me being an athlete in track, if I look at a football player getting paid and I'm still just getting meal money and crap, that would piss me off. My solution would be is stop the crap where we can't get paid for our likeness, where we can't get paid for signing autographs, where we can't get paid for doing certain things like that. If you're a big time athlete in college, especially in football, you're all over ESPN. You're all over all this stuff. Why not allow them a certain amount of money made for doing these certain things? If you're good enough, you're going to get paid.
Well, what do you want them to get paid for? I mean, being on ESPN is what you want in the end, because that's how you're going to get noticed by all of these professional leagues. So I feel like, yeah, maybe if they're going to end up in these college sports games and stuff, fine. You can pay them for that. They should get compensated for that because you are using their character. But in terms of being on a good play on ESPN, no. That's how they're going to get noticed by the leagues.
But what about like autograph sessions or meet and greets?
Then don't meet and greet. I don't think it's very fair. I mean, I understand that these schools, like, they're big for the sports, but you're catering to these athletes. And, what about everybody else in those schools? Like, some of this money is going back into the schools to help scholarships for people that are non-athletes. I mean, this money is going towards people with different scholarships and different funds, and all those people that can't afford to go to college that need this money and need the loans and the scholarships to get through it. So I don't really think you should be then giving it back to the athletes when they're already getting a full ride and they're getting, living wages. They're going to get, in terms of housing and food and everything else. So no, I don't agree with it.
Now, what if they were paid by the company that was having them sign the autographs and it wasn't coming any way, shape, or form from the school, from the NCAA? It's not really
signing
affecting.
Autographs is just something that you choose to do.
It can be.
I don't really think that you should get paid for signing an autograph. You can just tell them no. Now, if you're being approached by Under Armour or something to wear their clothing and stuff like that, then yeah, you sign a contract. Be smart about it. Don't just wear their clothing and just be like, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll do this for free. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, be a little bit business savvy with that stuff.
Yeah, see, my only solution would be I wouldn't want the schools to pay extra. I wouldn't want the NCAA to pay. I would want the athletes to be able to endorse themselves. Like you said, athletes are also brands. So I would want, if you're big enough of an athlete, where for me as a runner, it would be probably athletes from Oregon that anyone would know any of their names would be probably an Oregon runner. So out there, if they wanted to make money off their likeness, I think they should be able to make money off their likeness, not necessarily the schools, but their own.
I mean, would be a contract within the companies that's going to be promoting them. So, I mean, I wouldn't really say you're paying them at the schools because it's a totally different subject. If they want to be sponsored by Nike or by Under Armour or by ASICS or whatever the sport is, then that's something they need to talk about with the companies. And
that's a rule. Well, the NCAA doesn't allow, because it takes away from amateurism. If you're not an amateur, you can't compete in the NCAA, which I think is crap. It's just a way of keeping these kids from not getting paid for their likeness. When schools are making millions. NCAA is making millions off of these kids.
I think schools need to step out of the business side of it, because if these students that they want to actually have contracts with other companies, then that's their business. It has nothing to do with it. I mean, if I wanted to have a job outside of school, I'm not going to be giving them my paycheck. So if they want to make a paycheck a different way, then go for it.
All right. So at least we agree. And and I like this perspective because it's different, because I talk to a lot of people who are athletes or people who are mega into sports. So it's like we're looking at it and we're getting influence from so many different ends, from all the sports analysts and different athletes, where you're coming at it from someone who just casually will like to watch her Cowboys or is forced to watch Brooklyn Nets when I have it on, or the Yankees, or you're just sitting there watching it or ingesting some ESPN because I let SportsCenter play for 4 hours and nothing's different. But it's nice to get a different perspective and someone from the outside looking in, because it's really going to be, if there is anything implemented and it is going to be forced on by the schools or forced on by the NCAA, it's going to be people like you who are going to be forced to do the brunt of the work to get these kids paid. Where I think my solution, it wouldn't affect the common student at all. It would be, because let's be honest, if, say, me or you as the common student, we're also physicists and we're geniuses, and we want to sit there and invent something our sophomore year and get patent pending, we can start getting paid our sophomore year. There is no rule that we can't get paid for something we worked on or our likeness. So why should that be any different for an athlete, where if they're using their star to get paid, not by the school, not by the NCAA, but whoever the hell wants to pay them outside of that, why shouldn't that happen?
If they want to sell their likeness, then that's fine.
All right. So I'm happy we can agree on that. This is the most my wife and I have agreed on any subjects, I think, in years. It's not, maybe I need to have her on podcast to actually discuss everything in our life. And it might just be a much more amicable situation.
We'll see.
Yeah. So here to come, everything about our life opinions podcast.
Definitely not.
So the last thing I'm going to talk to you about, and it's something that I guarantee you don't care about, but it's there's a problem with my sport, track and field, And I think I've talked to you about this. It's the endorsements, where I think during the Olympics, one of the athletes wanted to have a henna tattoo of a logo that they were endorsed by, and the IOC, the international, whatever it is, the Olympic Committee, they said no, can't have that because you can only wear our sponsors. You can only wear Nike, who sponsors us for this. And none of the individual athletes in track and field were allowed to wear who sponsors them, which besides their shoes, I think, which I think is a little wild because we don't have a league in track. We don't have big money. So our biggest event is the Olympics, and it gets us exposure. But once that's over, we're gone again. So we should be able to make money for our brands. I think it's ridiculous. I think the IOC has become the AAU, which back in forever was another governing body that restricted everything athletes did. Do you think that track athletes should be able to wear their brands wherever the hell they want, basically?
I think they should be able to wear it. I mean, these companies gave them a chance, and they're, endorsing them and showing them off. So I don't see why the athletes can't wear whatever brand. I don't care who supports the Olympics, if it's Nike or whoever else it would be. Like, I think these companies that actually endorse the athletes are important to show. I mean, they gave them a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the biggest companies. World stage, and Nike isn't a massive, they're big in track. They're big in everything, but like Asics, Mizuno, Saucony, Brooks, those are specific running companies. A lot of them. New Balance is very big.
They have a lot of contracts with other sports. I feel like that's their opportunity to promote themselves.
No,
obviously, people
small
know
deals,
them.
yeah.
But, I mean, that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal, and it's good for them. And I just hate the rules with, track endorsements in general, because it's also the only way that we make money. Big endorsements, big sponsorships are the only way athletes make money. So if you're a runner, there's no other way to go about making money besides getting a big endorsement, which I hate that. I wish there was something. I think I've told you a few years ago, they ended it last year, but there was a Tracktown USA Summer Series where 4 teams competed. It was fun to watch. It was a bunch of pro runners and stuff. Fun to watch for me. But she was just giving me a face. If there was video on this, everyone would have enjoyed the face.
So much fun. It was perfect nap time.
Yes, exactly. But I just think that in order to get more exposure, there needs to be another league where these pro athletes come together and have dual meets against each other, or like football teams. 2 of them play each other at a time. Like, I think that would just help our exposure. And there's a lot of running fans out there. There's a lot of runners.
I feel like there's a lot of running fans for like the marathons and stuff, but to watch someone run around a track, like I feel like, they can't even get on ESPN normally. Well,
Usain Bolt is possibly the most famous athlete on the planet still, and he's a runner.
Popular.
You can't mention the name without like a crowd of people, most of them knowing who he is.
They know who he is, yeah, but it's not the same as if like LeBron walked in the room.
They might be the same height.
I really don't know. So I can't make a judgment on that. But I mean, if Usain Bolt walked in the room and then you have like one of the Mannings walk in the room, I think people are going to flock towards the Mannings.
I don't know. The Mannings are kind of stiff.
But super famous. The whole world knows them. Where the whole world probably knows Usain Bolt, but running versus American football.
That's true. That's true. Your point is there, but I still stick to my point that running.
Ronaldo, I mean, everyone's going to go to him.
Yeah, all the guys want to be him. All the women want to be with him.
Nothing wrong with that.
He's a hall pass. You have that. He's a definite hall pass. But all right, lovely wife. This was lots of fun. We got to do more of these. You probably don't want to do more of these.
I don't have a lot of opinions on sports, but I try.
Yeah, so this was Sports Opinions Podcast with my beautiful, amazing wife, Julie. Julie, say bye to the people.
Bye, everyone.
If you want to find the podcast, you can listen to it on almost anywhere you can find the podcast. Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer. There's a million ways. You can even just go Google search it. You'll find it. And me, again, Twitter, Instagram, _Cuesta30. So, Twitter, Sports Opinion 30, and Instagram, Sports Opinions 30 for sports opinions specifically. Visit the Facebook page, spread the word, and come on the show if you like it. Because, as you can see here, it's not just for the mega sports fan. If you have opinion about sports, exactly. You have an opinion about sports at all, come on, let's do this. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.